You moved down?
Yeah, when I moved in, I lived down here on the Gillette Road, right down at the trail park. And we just started to come to church here. It was the closest church around. And I went here for, like I say, for about 35 years. Was a deacon. Had it pretty good. Me and my brother was a deacon. Her husband, Laddie, my first cousin, and it was a pretty close-knit thing. Buck Strickland, Jimmy Willis, Sam Willis. It goes way back. This must have been a half a dozen preachers here or more during the time I was here. Well, it was more respectful, like me and Julie was talking about. It used to be, you feel like you was going to church. Yeah. You had been, anyhow. But it's just a change. People just wants to change, I guess, and then they get it.
Well, and it's in the Bible that Christians are peculiar people. They're not common people. But today, you don't see that. And when we had to add on to the buildings, the men did the work. We didn't hire it done. And we only did while we had the money. We didn't borrow money. I don't think the church ever borrowed any money. And
Probably not.
We bought all the property around here. And, but the church was the focal of your life. Well, what you learned in church and from the Bible, it showed you how to live. And it tells you in the Bible how to dress and how to act, what to do and what not to do.
Well, everything's got to
And
look.
if your Sunday school teacher saw you doing something wrong, they didn't hesitate to correct you. And if they had to, they told your parents. Miss Sam Willis was my teacher when I started coming in the 40s. Because it was during the war and we didn't have gas to go. I was a Methodist, went to Terracita. And Miss Sam Willis was my role model.
Well, you usually had it when you was a child, a favorite teacher.
Right.
Because when I came here, I taught most of the time that I was here in this church, because I was grown and had a family.
And Lottie and I were leaders of the junior training union, and we'd have hamburgers and French fries at the house once a month on Saturday afternoon. And a lot of the teachers did that.
Yeah, I think the church was more of the center of the community, the center of the life of the people.
Right.
Here, they participated in it.
And we had the RAs, we had the GAs, and the children was all involved in that. And it was sort of like the Sunday school class. And we had it before church for all classes. And I can remember back when we'd have 100 and 125 in Sunday school back in the 60s. And we'd have what did they call the Sunday? Victory Sunday. We'd see how many we could have in Sunday school.
Like a high attendance.
Yeah, high attendance, right. And always had homecoming the first Sunday in May. Every year. And a former pastor would come and be our speaker. And back then we had the service in the morning, we had service after lunch, singing after lunch, and a speaker. And I think we came for church that night. I know we were at church all day long. Well, I think on a person, I think the most humble moment is when they accepted Christ. I was already a Methodist. I was sprinkled, as they say. But when Laddie came, I just had to go with him.
Well, I was baptized before I came. I was baptized at Bethany before I came here. Me and Mac and a bunch of us boys was baptized out there. But I was a deacon here when I was really baptized, when I was saved, in other words. But I had a family.
And it was a very, very humble experience back then. You saw tears. Because to me, that's the most important thing you can do in your life, is accept Christ. But you don't see that humbleness now in a lot of the churches. It's just an everyday thing. And your life should change. Back then, we would see people, their life would be completely different. Laddie's was that way. He wasn't the same after he accepted Christ. I had about 8 or 10 kids on the pew with me because Laddie was a song director, and all the rest of them, Virgil played the piano, and all the rest of them was in the choir, and so all the kids sat with me.
Oh my goodness.
There was no nursery. And we didn't have a nursery until, I guess, way up in the 60s, before we started having a nursery. Until then, all the children was in the sanctuary, but they didn't run around. I know Buck wanted water one time, and when Laddie picked him up, went outside, and came back in, he didn't want any more water.